Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Q, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Tech Tree Tier 10 British Heavy, the Gloster Javelin, and this video is by audience request. So here's the Gloster Javelin, or as I like to refer to it, the mighty Gloster Javelin, because of those quadruple Aidens, sitting on the tarmac outside my hangar. I think this is a handsome aircraft. And it's also very powerful. Anyway, let's go and take a look at how I've set it up. This aircraft is specialised. And go pop into the service. We can see that I've set it up with a gun sight. Well, the Aidens aren't that accurate, so you do need to improve your accuracy as much as you can. Ultimate equipment. The Javelin is largely about speed. So polished skin in the airframe, an uprated engine, but then for a little bit of mobility, I've put on a lightweight power unit rather than boost acceleration. And then here's the key one for me, the experimental gas-operated action. I've used the experimental equipment here. Because of the inaccuracy, I like to pump out the shots as quickly as possible in the hope that at least some of them will connect. And that's an important component of shooting down aircraft, particularly smaller ones with the Javelin, in my opinion. Single-seat aircraft, so fire extinguisher rather than medical kit. I put the exhaust bleed inerting system on here to reduce any possibility of damage by fire. Having said that, it's actually got good survivability, so perhaps a different choice there. I should think about that. Engine cooling for the extra boost, although you'll see shortly that the boost is very good on this aircraft. And then for a bit more speed, I've put on the improved mixture control. And finally, universal ammunition as usual. I never use gold ammunition. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at the statistics for this aircraft and compare them to the other Tier 10 heavies. Of course, that means looking at a spreadsheet. I think that's valuable, but if you really can't bear to do that, use the links below the video to skip ahead to another section. So these are the statistics for the Tier 10 heavies. The Gloster Javelin is in columns C and D. The other two Tier 10 heavies are in E and F and G and H respectively. These are the attributes that you can see in the Hangar UI, and here's the statistics in the body here. Okay, configuration is stock in every case. Where ordnance is available, it's mounted. No equipment. Pilot's been sent back to the barracks. All top modules. Green is best in class. Light blue is second best in class, and lilac is third best in class, but considering there are only 3 aircraft, that actually is the same as worst in class. Okay, there are no premium and reward aircraft at Tier 10. Well, not yet, anyway. So let's just take a look at the gun armament, and I mentioned them previously without explaining what they were, but the Gloster Javelin has 4 30mm cannons, wing-mounted, called Aidens, and these are devastating. Cumulative DPS is actually second best in class at 1320, but it's very high, as you can see. And as you saw me say in the hangar, I've improved the fire rate to increase that DPS even more. No ordnance on the Javelin, so you don't have to worry about bombing pesky ground targets. Here's the key one. In today's meta, this survivability. It's 32, it's 1200 hit points. The damage resistance and fire resistance are pretty much the same as the other heavies, but those hit points are 500 more than the other 2 heavies. And that's important because the meta of the game is for EF-131s to be flying around, the bombers, and the other 2 aircraft are going to struggle to take a full health EF-131 down because they simply don't have the resilience. You've got much more of a chance with the Gloster Javelin, especially if you attack the EF-131 from the correct quarter. And I would say that this is the meta heavy in the game now because of the EF-131. The other 2, if they're engaged with EF-131s, are going to struggle very often. If we look at the airspeed, it's all much of a muchness here, all pretty close. In theory, the Javelin being a big heavy aircraft, hence that's why it's so strong, is a bit slower, 404 cruise speed. But take a look at the boost duration, more than 15 seconds exactly higher than the other 2 heavies, which means it can keep going at its maximum boost speed, which is pretty similar to even the XF90 for far longer. That means it can chase down things like the XF90s. And even the maneuverability, okay, it's not significantly greater than, say, the ME-262. It is significantly greater than the XF90, but it is a little bit of an advantage. And if, as I have done, you build in a little bit of maneuverability into your aircraft, you can actually find yourself sent against ME-262s built for speed, outturning them. And when it comes to altitude performance, again, pretty much of a muchness across the heavies. This altitude performance is actually best in class, but it's actually shared with the XF90. The reason why the rating is slightly lower is because, again, as you would expect with a lumbering aircraft, a big one, the climb rate is the worst of all. You don't want to try and escape from attacking heavies by climbing. You can't really use diving either. But low altitude aircraft that don't perform so well at altitude, and as you'll see coming up, there's a pair of Hunters in the replay, and they've got fairly limited altitude performance. Climbing away is a possibility. Diving away is also a possibility from anything other than hemis. So what I conclude from that is that this is a very resilient aircraft, the characteristics of which are so similar to the other two heavies, and given the presence of EF-131s in the game, I think this is the best heavy in the game these days. It's certainly the heavy I think is best suited for all circumstances. I think that's enough in the numbers. I think we should go and have a look at a battle and see what the Gloster Javelin can do. Here we are on the Northern Bridgehead map, and for World of Tanks players, this apparently is Fjords. I'm not quite sure where the World of Tanks map itself would reside on here, or whether it's just a conventional name, and the two maps are unrelated, but I throw that out there for you. So if we look at the sectors, there are 5 of them in sort of a squashed 5 spots of a die relationship. There's a forward airstrip in the middle. It's not a repair base, so it's tactically important because it provides easy access to the other sectors, but other than that it only conveys the 3 resources every 5 seconds, and you can spawn there, which is quite an advantage since it's central. The 2 important sectors strategically, of course, are the military base, which I think is the most important because that launches rocket strikes quite quickly on ground targets in other sectors, and the command centre, which less quickly releases bombers, which is why I think it's less important than the military base, but nevertheless is much more important than the 2 garrisons, which only convey the 3 resources every 5 seconds. And in my opinion, the best way to win this map is to try and hold at least, say, maybe a garrison and the forward airstrip, but also the military base for much longer than the enemy. Okay, so if we look at the order of battle, we can see that I have a J7W3 multi-role. I like that aircraft. I think it's very capable with me at tier 10. On the opposing side, we have a pair of Hunters, one of which is specialised, and these have the same Aidens as the Javelin, so I don't want to get in front of these, otherwise I'll feel the effects just as badly as they will. Quite an interesting balance of aircraft. I really have no idea how this battle would go, so without further ado, let's go and have a look at that battle and see how it panned out. Well, I forgot to mention that the map variant in question is Valhalla, but be that as it may, I said that the most important sector in my opinion was the military base, and that's where I decided to take my Javelin immediately. Obviously military bases only have 2 air defence aircraft protecting them, both heavies, flying high, and any bombers or opposition heavies that fly in would also be targets for me. So off we went. Climbing to gain altitude. We'll see the first air defence heavy, look for the second, and make a bit of an error here. I actually managed to get myself sandwiched between the heavies, and I'm not quite sure which one to try and take first. And then fortunately for me, an enemy bomber arrives, and I know that the air defence heavies will probably concentrate on that rather than me, and that gets me out of a slightly tricky situation. I can also concentrate on the bomber. And as you can see, the Aidens make very short work of half of the bomber's health there. I get a bit too close, so I fly away. Decide that there's an air defence aircraft which is presented itself for shooting. Swing round to finish it off. And then try and find either the bomber or the other air defence heavy. And they're both there in front of me. Shooting the air defence heavy does the job of taking the sector. Now I need to finish the bomber. And that's no problem, as you can see. Those quadruple Aidens do an awful lot of damage very quickly if you can land them. See, there's a Gren attacker below, so I decide to go down for that. Let's turn back to attack the sector. probably about 60% of his health was taken off in that short volley. And after a little bit of work on it by my team, I'm able to finish it off very quickly indeed. I can see a bomber flight coming in, so that's something that I'll probably want to try and take down. My plan here is to protect the military base for as long as is possible, provided that the enemy don't capture all three of the other sectors. And that's when I spot that the bomber has returned, so I go after that second time. Stop to adjust, and I can see that another bomber has sneaked in. Probably it managed to spawn at the airfield, so I go after that as well. Little bit of adjustment, no bother taking down the Junkers 287 there either. I'll swing around looking for the bomber flight. And at that point I spot a ground attacker coming in. Right, it's a moot point where the 5 aircraft and the bomber flight were more of a threat than the ground attacker, but I decided to go for the ground attacker. And slightly sloppy flying there. I got a bit too close to the ground attacker and it's lived longer than it should have. I can see that another ground attacker's got in. And more importantly, I see the XF-90s come in. And that's a priority target. Remove that from the game. Go back after the ground attacker. We're very close to losing this. Fortunately, both ground attackers are low health. One because I shot it and one because my team has been able to shoot it. I'm able to keep the military base just for a little longer, but at that point we lose it. So it's now time to go off and do something else. Missed my shots on the Seahawk. Decided not to hang around because I'm pretty sure there's a hunter behind me. So I rush off and I look for friends to help with the hunter. The hunter breaks off. I assume it was the hunter. Start looking for more targets. I knew there was a bomber somewhere above me, so I decided to take that out again. Although with 3 sectors to 2 down, the enemy's got 2 sectors that are on very low health, including the command centre. One of them's already fallen whilst I've been speaking. Well, Graham medal goes through as I finish off the heavy that flies in, the ME-262. I took out the bomber as you saw, and now I'm going down for the ground attacker. This is where I need to be a little bit careful. I've got the ground attacker. Long range shot takes out the wing. I'm wondering what that was. Swing round. And then I realise it's one of the hunters. So, knowing that the hunter has limited altitude performance, even though this aircraft doesn't climb particularly quickly for a heavy, I use my boost and climb out of danger. And as you can see, the hunter behind me gives up. I'm looking for targets that I might be able to take out over the military base. Swing around for the air defence heavy. Still within nice range, and in a nice aspect for me. And down he goes. Nothing more I can do here for the moment. So I need to go off and do something else. So I head towards the airfield. And then I notice that there's a bomber, as you can see, over the garrison. Think about going for that. A little bit of dithering and eventually commit to getting the bomber. Down the bomber goes. We never did take the military base, so now we need to find another sector. Got some shots into the Seahawk. Don't hang around, certainly don't turn with it. It may have limited manoeuvrability, but I've got even less. Find an F6U. Here's my initial shots on that. Decide not to chase it down. Was going to shoot at the heavy. Fly through a furball. Need to be probably a little bit more decisive. We're in danger here at the moment. 4 sectors to 1 down. And I'll decide again that we need to take the bomber, which is heading towards the command centre. We really can't afford to lose that. And that goes. We've taken the airfield back in the meantime. I'll search for more targets. And one of the hunters down below. Don't initially get my shots right. But then I take him out for the Winged Legend. And he won't be coming back into this game because the scoreline is up. Now I'm going to take out the ground attackers. Unfortunately that one's not in the right place for me to shoot, so I fly away a little bit. And come round. And that brings up the Cotterdub medal. So I've been taking a lot of bombers and a lot of ground attackers, and that will certainly help my chevron count in this game. Tight game, we've got the advantage at the moment. Just look at the order of battle, we can see it's 5 aircraft to 4. And just confirmation that I've already got 5 chevrons. Head towards the I-211, that dies. The enemy only has 3 aircraft left. I'm now looking to finish this aircraft by taking out the rest of the enemy combat group. 1 aircraft above me. 2 aircraft above me. Decide to leave the ME-262 and chase the XF-90 on the basis that the XF-90 could plausibly run away from me. The ME-262 is finished off by my team. That was the ace notification going through, and now we only have 1 aircraft left. And although we're probably going to win by the number of sectors, I want to finish this game on a high. So we go down for the KO-162. I can always boost straight past if I don't finish it off. It's on fairly low health, and I land my shots perfectly. And the game is over. 5 chevron battle. A lot of medals and 19,000 personal points. I'm happy with this, it's a good win. So let's review the outcome of this battle. And if we look in the middle here, we can see it's a 5 chevron battle or a grade 1 heavy fighter. 213,409 credits, or silver if you prefer, gross, of which about 53,000 came from the premium account bonus. If we look in the message box, which I've already got open here, there's 10,000 there, and that's for a consumable. I haven't stocked up on the improved mixture control, and that's something I will be doing the next opportunity I get. Experience, 6,092 with bonuses, 304 free experience with a premium account bonus, and a pair of tokens here, both for first medals of the day. That was for the Marseille and the Ace, but as you can see there's a host of medals here: the Maguire, the Marseille as mentioned, the Ace, Winged Legend, McCampbell's, Toshidub, and Hero of the Sky. Quite nice fall. Turning to the personal score tab, we can see that all of the class-specific missions were complete, hence the 5 chevrons. Personal points of 19,030, 2 sectors captured, 21 aerial targets destroyed. Of course, 20 is what gets you the ace. 14,979 damage to aerial targets, of which and 30 critical hits, not surprising with those Aidens. 780 capture points, and that was split 600 for defending, mostly over that military base, and 180 for attacking. We'll go to the team score tab. We can see both by personal points and by chevrons that was enough for first place. Pretty good contribution from the J7W3, which is a good multi-role in my opinion, and good contributions from both of the hunters on the enemy team, well over 10,000 points in both their cases. So this was a nice battle to win. That concludes my look at the Tier 10 British Heavy, the mighty Gloster Javelin. which I think is the meta heavy in the game's current situation, owing to its robust build, which makes it able to counter the EF-131 bomber more effectively than the slighter, less heavily built Me-262 and XF-19. If you can keep this aircraft high and fast, concentrate on taking out bombers, other heavies, and also ground attack aircraft, you should have a lot of fun with the quadruple 30mm Aidens. Well, I hope you found that interesting and enjoyable, and that if you did, you'll come back and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.